Did you know that an estimate of 15 to 20% of marriages in America are considered sexless? That's one in every five couples experiencing profound disconnection in one of the most fundamental aspects of their relationship. But what's even more alarming is that research shows that couples are 17% or 17 times more likely to get a divorce within the next 5 years that have a sexless marriage. This isn't just about bedroom issues. It's a relationship emergency that most couples suffer through in silence. Yes. And in this episode today, I am going to pull back the curtain on how this silence is affecting everything you have built together. Yes, your marriage, your relationship. And I'm going to show you that there is a path back to igniting that sexual flame, that flicker, that desire, that passion, so that you can have orgasmic, explosive experience again in your marriage. And so let's have this conversation. Welcome back to the show. If you're new, I am Doran, and this is Not Easily Broken. And on this channel, we help couples who are struggling in unhappy or dysfunctional marriage. We help you to build stronger, better, successful marriage through spiritual growth aligned with the Word of God. Now, let's define what we are talking about here, because technically, a sexless marriage means having little or no sex at all. You heard that, right? But beyond the number of times that you have sex, it's about the emotional distance that grows when physical intimacy disappears from the relationship that once had it. Yes, you and your spouse used to be in the bed and hanging out and talking and walking and date nights and having meaningful conversation. And then all of a sudden, ain't nothing going on. The reason this matters so deeply isn't about the act of sex itself. It's about what it represents, what sex represents. Sexual intimacy represents connection. It represents desire. It represents vulnerability. It represents faithfulness. It represents trust. It represents intimacy. Yes. And when this element fade from the bedroom, when it fade away from your life and your marriage, they often fade from the relationship entirely. And my friend, here's the reality. When physical intimacy disappears from the relationship, the consequences get far beyond or it extend way beyond the bedroom. And let me walk you through what happens, because this is so important to the betterment of the relationship. The first thing that we want to look at is isolation set in first. You see, what starts as sleeping with your back turned to each other gradually becomes emotional distance. And that disconnection isn't just about missing physical touch and intimacy. It is about losing the neurochemical and that benefit, that oxytocin, that bonding hormone that releases intimacy during connection, that contact, that bonding, that fusing, that synchronizing. Hello, that drawing and pulling towards each other, that magnetic force that is pulling you towards each other. After a while, it just disappears. Point number two, resentment flows quickly. For the partner feeling rejected, questions about self-worth emerge. Am I attractive enough? Am I enough for them? Are they cheated on me? I'm not worth desiring. All these things go through their mind. And for the partners who isn't initiating, there can be some sort of guilt also. Maybe pressure, anxiety, feeling like they're letting you down. I don't know what the cause. Both positions lead to frustration that spill into other area of the relationship. The next thing is communication breakdown next. Yes. And here's the reality. The topic become so charged and you can start having, fights over nothing. They sneeze and you get mad at them. And you start to have discussions that turns into argument. You're not on the same page anymore. And you start to avoid each other. And that avoidance becomes a template for sidestepping other difficult conversation. You stop sharing your needs. You stop sharing your dreams. You stop sharing your desire. You stop asking questions. You just isolate yourself and you don't even talk about your daily thoughts and your daily, life. Oh, here's another one. Trust erode as connection fades. Yes. When your most vulnerable self isn't being seen or accepted, you begin to hide the other part of yourself too. This creates a fertile ground for misunderstanding, for further disconnect. And that's where arguments and conflicts become easier because there's nothing seems to be holding you together. There's nothing that bonding and fusing together. And to address this challenge, we need to understand the various factors that contribute to sexless marriage. And one of the reasons that causes sexless marriage is physical health issues that are common in the relationship. And this happens many, many times. A couple that we work with came to us after their intimacy disappeared following a chronic pain problem that was diagnosed with his wife. They didn't realize how this medical changes or this medical issue could impact their connection until they were sleeping in separate bedrooms to avoid disturbing each other because she was in pain and it was frustrating for him and it was frustrating for her. And because of that, it just causes, things to spiral out of control. Yes. And that's why we have to talk about these things. If you're older and your body's going through different changes, maybe the man is having ED problem, erectile dysfunction, or the wife have low libido or, sexual medical issues that causing sexual problem. You got to talk about these things. You need to have meaningful conversation about it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Don't pretend like it doesn't exist. Doesn't work that way. Here's another point. Stress and exhaustion plays a major role also. Yes, matter of fact, there's another couple that we work with. The husband company downsized, and in order for him to keep his job, he had to take a pay cut. And then what makes matters worse, is that his workload double, and so it was working harder for less pay. And him and his wife found themselves going months without physical connection. He was frustrated, and she was frustrated because he was frustrated, and they were just both two frustrated people in the marriage. And by the time he gets home and he get to bed, he was just exhausted. He was just tired. And the wife didn't want to bother with his moaning and his groaning and his complaining about everything. It was just not a very nice environment to be in. Did you understand what I'm saying? And so we had to talk to them and help them through this problem. Here's another point. Communication breakdown is both cause and effect. Many couples never learn to talk about physical needs without shame or accusation. One couple that we have worked with assume their partner should just automatically know what they wanted. Really? I didn't know that spouse supposed to be mind readers. I didn't know that they're supposed to automatically know what's going on in your life without you just talk about it. That's why you have conversation, so that they can get the data to make informed decisions in exactly what you need and desire and practice it by taking action to create the result that you're looking for. And here's a truth be told. It leads to years of misconnection and miscommunication and mistaken assumptions because no one wanted to talk about it. Hello? Here's another point that sexless marriage can cause. Misaligned desire aren't discussed openly. What do you desire sexually? What do you want to happen? This actually happened with another couple that we work with. The husband wanted sex twice a week and the wife was content with once a month. Neither knew how to bridge the gap respectfully. And instead, they fell into a pattern of pursuit and withdrawal and pursuit, and it damages their bond together. And let me share something that fundamentally changed my approach to helping couples with intimacy or sex problems in their marriage, or sexual intimacy, that is. I coach a couple who had been married for 22 years, and the last 5 years of the marriage, they're barely having sex. They were like almost nothing. And during one session, the wife broke down in tears and said something I'll never forget. She said, "It's not about the sex." She said, it's about feeling wanted. She said, I could live without the physical act forever, but I cannot bear living one more day without feeling invisible to the person who once couldn't keep their hands off me. One more day, she said she couldn't live. And with tears rolling down her eyes, that moment crystallized what truly is at stake in these situations, my friend. Because a sexless marriage isn't primarily about physical frustration. It is about slow death of being seen, desired, and your spouse choosing you. Think about it. It's about feeling chosen and desired by your partner. It is about the gradual disappearance of the unique connection that makes a marriage different from any other relationship. And that is the sexual bond, the connection, the intimacy, the closeness, the vulnerability. And during the coaching session, I asked the husband if he understood what his wife was saying. He later admitted that his withdrawal wasn't about the lack of attraction, but it stemmed from the fear of rejection after pursuing her and feel rejected during a stressful period in the relationship and in the marriage. And so his solution was to avoid hurt. And that avoidance create a much deeper wound for both of them. And this is why communication is critical in these type of situation. It is a solvent of all marital problems. Communication is. And if you don't, do it for yourself, I believe that you need to speak with someone. You need to go to counseling. You need to go to therapy. If it's a deep wounded issue, trauma, seek professional mediator. And what happened is that this couple ultimately, they're reconnected through the plan of actions that we put in place, and they go through our marriage makeover coaching program, and they start to learn about how to understand sex and their body language and the rhythm and all of that stuff that we teach in our program. And not by focusing on the frequency of intimacy, but by rebuilding the fundamental feeling of being chosen, being desired, and feel wanted daily. Yes, this story taught me that addressing sexless marriage isn't about mechanics or scheduling sex more often. It is about vulnerability. It's about courage. It's about showing up. It is about feeling loved and appreciated. It is about moving towards each other, even in moments when it may feel one-sided, that you're the only one making an effort. It's about intentional reconnection. We teach couples who work with us to understand that your feeling doesn't change the action, but the action will help to change how you feel. And so you don't feel and then you act. You act to create the feelings. So let us recap real quick. Let us recap. Let us, go over this. We have covered a lot about sexless marriage and the impact that it has, right? And so the absence of physical intimacy create a ripple effect through your entire relationship. The emotional distance, the emotional disconnect, the communication breakdown, and erosion of trust start happening. And these issues don't typically resolve on their own. Without your intervention, it's not going to change. The disconnection tends to deepen over time, and it will lead to separation. It leads to divorce. It can lead to virtual affair or even physical adultery. And the underlying causes of this is whether physical health is happening, stress, communication problems, or misaligned desire. It requires compassion. It requires understanding rather than blaming each other. And that, my friend, why communication, it is critical. So recovery requires honest conversation, possibly professional guidance, as I mentioned, and a commitment to rebuilding emotional connection before expecting physical intimacy to return. You've got to dig deep. You got to go hard. You have to be intentional. And most importantly, remember that a fulfilling connection is possible again. Yes, it is. Couples who successfully navigate these challenges or these type of situation often report a stronger marriage. You learn from your mistakes and now you make conscious and informed decision because of the data. And now you take action that yield the result that the both of you guys are looking for. It allows you to build a more authentic relationship that is able to withstand difficult times because now you know exactly what to do. Is that all right? And if you're experiencing these challenges in your own relationship, know that you're not alone, my friend. No, you're not. And there is a pathway to a better marriage, a better relationship, a better sex life by being intentional. Go to work. You don't need a new spouse. What you need is a new routine. Go somewhere and have fun. Build the relationship, build the bond, build the friendship. Great sexual intimacy is predicated on the kind of friendship that you have. There's no such thing as falling out of love or growing out of love. You just stop serving. And if you stop serving, you will not experience love. But luckily for you, we have a coaching program that goes in depth on sex and intimacy in marriage. And if you want to learn more about our marriage makeover coaching program, I want you to click the link in the description and book a free consultation with us so that you can learn more. Let's find out if you qualify, if you fit who we're looking for to help you to build a better, successful, and healthy, happy marriage. And guys, as I land this plane, I want you to know that we also read your comment and leave your thoughts in the comment section. I would like to hear your questions or your experience. And the truth be told that your vulnerability might be exactly what another spouse needs to hear to know that there's hope for them also, that they too can move towards healing. And I want to thank you for trusting me with this sensitive topic. And remember that your relationship deserves all the effort it needs and all it takes to build or to rebuild connection. And you too deserve a marriage that is not easily broken. In order to do that, you got to get to work and build the kind of marriage that you want. It's not going to happen by happenstance. A successful marriage is indeed a planned event. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for listening via your favorite podcast platform. Like, share, subscribe, and I cannot wait to see you again soon. Be blessed. Bye-bye.